and welcome back for another edition of Lisa's Pilates. Today we're going to do spinal articulation. So for this we're going to be focusing on the movement we can get through our spine in various positions. So to start with we're going to do standing roll down. So you're going to be near the back end of your mat, feet hip distance apart, pelvis tucked slightly under, and imagine that lengthening feeling going through your spine with your head being pulled up towards the ceiling. Then I want you to engage your core, so you're going to do your pelvic floor contraction, you're going to draw the belly button back towards the spine, try and narrow that waistline and feel that lower part of your stomach tighten and engage. And then you're going to shift your weight forwards onto your toes and just practice that rocking backwards and forwards movement, but the movement to come from your heels all the way through to the top of your head. So if you imagine someone's pulling you out, head up towards the ceiling, your core's locked in tight and you're a plank of wood and you're just shifting your weight forwards and backwards. And just get that sense of balance and where your weight is distributed with core engaged. So I want you to shift forwards, weight pressed down through the big toe, engage your core, drop your chin to your chest, round through the upper back, mid back, lower back, keeping the weight forward so that you can get that opening feeling through the lower back, and then you should get it into your hamstrings. When you get as low as you can go, depending on your flexibility, take a breath in, and then I want you to scoop your tummy in tight. Start by tucking your pelvis under, and then stack the vertebrae like Lego blocks, one on top of the other. When you're almost at the top, turn the palms of your hands open so that your chest opens, and then all you need to think about is stacking your head to finish. I don't want you to do that. So we're not looking for extension through the back, we're just looking for lengthening. And again, the reason I want you to keep that weight shifted forwards is so that you can get the movement to come through the spine and you're not just sticking your bum backwards to reach forwards. So shift the weight, drop your chin to your chest, drop shoulders round through the upper back, mid back, scoop the tummy in the whole time. Keep the weight forwards and you should feel that working its way through the back and legs, and then roll it back up again. Keeping your weight forwards, try not to let the hips shift back. Palms open, chest lifted, stack the head to finish. Okay, on this next one I'm going to show you progression, so if you want to advance it, when you get down to the bottom, keep your core tight and try not to wiggle your bum too much from side to side. You're going to step out into a plank position, hold, bum in the air, hold a downward dog stretch. So you're aiming heels down into the mat, bum in the air, straight back, and then walk the hands back in. Soften the knees, scoop the tummy in, roll the spine back up, open the palms, stack the head, and again, if you want to add a press up to the plank position, you can do. So when you get down to the bottom, you're going to do your walkout into the plank position, set the shoulders, press up, bum in the air, hold that downward dog. Couple of deep breaths in that position so you're really getting a good stretch, and then hands back in, soften the knees, scoop the tummy in, scoop and stack the spine. Rotate the palms of your hands open and lengthen head to the ceiling, but don't arch your back, so don't overextend to finish. Let's do one more of those. Keep that core nice and tight as you do the walkout, either into a plank hold or a press up. Hold the downward dog position. Walk hands in and roll it back up. Good. Okay, next one onto your backs. Knees bent, feet hip distance apart. Now if you imagine you like two double yellow lines now, so your toes, your heels, your knees, hips and shoulders should all be lined up. And the same for the other side, which makes you like two double yellow lines running through the body. So that's your alignment position you want to get right from the start. I'm going to take my socks off for this because my towel's really slippy. So not only do we want that alignment right, Don't let the knees fall out or fall in for this one, and try not to turn the toes in or out. Keep everything parallel and make sure your heels aren't too far away from your bum, otherwise you'll overwork your hamstrings. So get the start position right, arms relaxed, engage your core, tilt the pelvis, pressing your lower back into the mat, curl your tailbone up, and then just peel inch by inch of your spine off the floor, slowly, until you get up onto the top of your shoulder blades, and at the end point from your knees down to your shoulders should be in a straight line. So again with this one, don't overextend, don't lift to there, keep everything in line. Ribs need to stay relaxed, don't flare them, and then from there you're going to soften your chest, soften your ribs, which will allow that flexion you need through the upper back to initiate the roll. Then you're going to place the mid back down, keeping the pelvis tucked under so that you can get the lower back to move, and then slowly roll it all the way back down to that neutral start position. And again, engage from the core, tilt, lift, press your heels down into the floor. As you're lifting your hips, imagine someone's pulling your knees away from you, so you're getting that lengthening feeling through the front of the hips and hip flexors opening. Your bum should be engaged, and then slow and controlled lower back down. So we're looking on getting that spinal articulation, so individual movement through the spine. Shouldn't feel like it's just a lift and a lower. We're trying to curl the movement. Okay, what we can add to this, when we get into that bridge position, if you imagine there's two bits of string from the ceiling coming down and holding your hips still, like a suspension bridge. That's maintaining the levelness, and now we're just going to do a side shift. Back to the centre, side shift the other way. So we're keeping our knees still, and we're just shifting our hips over to one side, back to the middle, and over to the other side. Trying to stay level and parallel the whole time. So it should feel like you're lengthening one side of your body and shortening the other, coming back to the centre, and then shortening one side of the body, lengthening the other. Then if you want, come down halfway and try and do the same. So it's just a nice mobility exercise for each section of the spine, depending on where you stop. Sort of locking some areas out and then mobilising, and then you can come down again a little bit more, lock it out, and then mobilise that lower section. And then really hard part, just skim your bum just off the floor and try and do it for that lower section. And then roll it out. And then roll up again, so tilt, press the back down, peel the spine, and hold that top lift position. And then this time, imagine like a puppet on a string. One hip's going to drop down and back up, and the other side, down and back up. You're staying up on your shoulders the whole time, and it's just the hips that are moving. Focus on your core, keep your knees fairly still, they'll move slightly, but try and keep everything, should still be double yellow line apart, they shouldn't be moving too far out. And again, come halfway down, and then try that same movement again at the halfway point. And you've locked out the upper back, so you're getting a bit more focus on mobilising that midsection. And then lower to skimming off the floor, and try it at that low point, and then roll it out. Good. Another variation we can add to it, you're going to engage, tilt, roll, lift onto your shoulders again, and then stabilise yourself in that bridge position. You need to engage your bum, press your weight through into your heel, keep the hips level, and one foot lifts, toe to ceiling, place it back down with no drop through the hips, other leg extends, place it back down, the spine shouldn't move, the hips shouldn't move, then roll yourself back down and start again. So you've got to engage your glutes, your bum, you've got to fire up the glutes to stabilise everything. You're focusing on your core and keeping that whole midsection nice and tight, and then you're just looking for a smooth transition as you switch from one leg to the other. If you're finding this easy, take your arms over your head and try the same thing, but without that arm support by your side, which should challenge your legs a little bit more and your core a little bit more. And then bring it back down and start again. Okay, bring yourself up into seated. Let's go into rolling like a ball now. So set up position for this one. You're going to have your feet and your knees together, and you're going to grab around the front of your shins just below your knees. And then we need to stay in a C shape for this. So we've got to prep your back and your body. So you're going to engage your core, and I want you to just collapse into that C shape and then sit tall. The movement for this has to initiate from the bottom. So there's no point in just dipping through the chest. Try and get that tuck and roll through the pelvis. Feel your core switch on as you do it. You want to feel as if your lower back, your sacrum, is touching the floor, and then come back out of it. So once you've got the hang of that prep exercise, we're going to do the the rolling like a ball. So you're going to have your feet off the floor in a balanced position, and then you're going to maintain that C shape. You're going to initiate the movement from the pelvis, so tummy switched on, core engaged, and then you're just going to tuck, roll, all the way onto the backs of the shoulders, and back up again. Sit tall and hold a balanced position between each rep if you can. And again, round C shape, roll smoothly, sit tall. And you're aiming to just get that balance point before you topple too far forwards that your feet touch the floor. That should switch on the core and improve that proprioception a little bit. Good. Okay, level 2, if that feels easy. Your hands go through, cup your ankle bones, lift the feet and hold that balanced position. Chest nice and lifted, back straight. Engage your core again. Initiate the movement from the pelvis to start with. So you tuck under, round the back, roll, and then stop. Tap your feet together 3 times. Come back up, balanced position, tap your feet together 3 times. Round the back, roll, tap your feet together 3 times. So there's your progression on from that one. Okay, then we've got assisted roll up. Feet back down, hands come behind the knees this time. Sit tall, engage your core. Feet off the floor and hold the balance. This time your legs are going to stay where they are. You're going to tuck the pelvis, lower the back down, let the arms straighten, and then let the knees come with you. So it's a slow and controlled lower down. Breathe in, and then breathe out. As you exhale, lift the head, shoulders, peel the spine off the floor. The weight of your legs should bring you back up. I want you to try and sit tall again before you start the same movement again. Round in the back, C shape, slowly place it down bit by bit. Then let the knees come with you. Inhale, and then exhale to come back up. Scoop the core in tight. Try and keep that C shape. Keep lengthening the head out of the body. Good. And that's your assisted version. If you want to try the full version of this, you're going to straighten the legs, sit up straight, focus on your core, and focus on the movement coming from the pelvis. So tuck under, lower the back down bit by bit. Let the arms float up and over. Inhale, lead with the arms, lift the head, shoulders, peel the spine off the floor. Reach it forwards to touch your toes. Inhale, and then exhale. Stack yourself back up, seated tall. And again, tuck under. Arms float. You will get a gap appear at that point, but on the way up you have to lose that gap, otherwise it's going to just hinge you. So as your arms start leading the way, you press your ribs down and you press your back into the floor to get you past that hard point, and then reaching forwards and stacking tall again. And if you want to make that a little bit harder still, just change your hand position to there. And you want to hinge back, then tuck and roll, and then try and keep your elbows out the whole time on the way up. Good. Okay, then we've got the roll over. So for this one, we're going to be back on our backs. Legs start at 90-degree angle. Legs go out and back in, just as your prep exercise. So you're just firing up those lower abdominal muscles and core. Then when you're out straight with the legs, your feet come up and over your head into the rollover. Your legs then come parallel to the floor, and then slow and controlled lower back down. Try and keep everything as relaxed as you can around the neck and shoulders. Use your abdominal muscles to initiate the lift, and then try and think about placing each vertebra back down bit by bit, nice and slow. The slower you go, the harder it is. Try not to use too much momentum for it if you can. Challenge if you want to make it harder, go all the way out with the legs and all the way back up. So you're doing a longer lever. Good. And if you want to make it a little bit harder, take your arms over your head so you haven't got that base of support to help stabilise you. You're having to use your core a little bit more. Nice and controlled as you lower down and back out and then in to finish. Good. Okay, next one, we're going on to our stomachs. So we're going to do prone press up. Now this one, we're focusing on the top part of our back. We're not trying to get too much movement down at the base. It's quite a hard one because naturally your spine is flexed in that upper section and your lower back is extended. So it's going to want to work here. We need it to work higher. So this one, you start with your fingertips level with your shoulders, with your elbows tucked in nicely by your side. You need to set the pelvis and the lower back right. So you need to tuck your pelvis under as if you're thrusting into the floor. As you do that, try and imagine you're lifting your tummy off the floor. A little trail of ants are running under your tummy. You've got to not allow them to get squashed. Give them a little space. Keep that tucked position. Elbows are in, and then you're going to aim them down, which should just relax your shoulders away from your ears. Now you're not pressing with your hands on this one. It's not a press up. You're trying to use the muscles in your upper back to extend you. So you're going to lengthen through your chest and extend through the upper back and lower. Your head should stay in alignment with your spine. So in theory you should be staying looking down at the mat the whole time. If you can feel it work in your lower back, you need to try and tuck under more and engage your core more, and then just focus on that lengthening feeling through the chest as you come upwards in a backwards C shape. It's quite a hard one to get right, this, but once you get it right, you will feel it around bra strap point. And it's a great exercise if you're sat at a desk all day in that flexed bent over position. It just helps strengthen up those muscles to hold you a bit more upright. So I'm not pressing into my hands, it's all the muscles in my upper back doing the work on this one. Keep tucking under, keep re-engaging the core. Every repetition, fire that core back up, belly button back towards the spine. You have to actively engage it. Exhaling as you lift up. Inhaling as you lower. Okay, and then coming on to all fours. We've got cat curls. So make sure your wrists are under your shoulders and your knees are under your hips, and you're in a box shape. And then you're going to start from the base of your spine, so right at the coccyx, that's where it initiates from. Tuck under first, then try and round the lower back and work your way through the spine, then mid back, upper back, then tuck your chin into your chest and really feel that stretch all the way through the spine, and then undo it. So head lifts, shoulders, your ribs start to drop down towards the floor as your pelvis tilts backwards and your you arch your back, sticking your bum out into that horseback position. And again, start at the bottom, tuck your tailbone under, lower back, then mid back, then upper back, chin into chest, round into that cat cow, and then roll it back out. Head lifts, shoulders drop, stick your bum out into that horseback position again. So you start to speed it up slightly, you don't want to rush it, but it's a mobility exercise. If you want to hold it at either end, you can do. I suggest you don't drop too much into that extension position though, that horseback, your back doesn't like too much extension. Good. And back down to the centre. And then we've got two more seated ones to finish with. So we're going to have our legs slightly wider than hips. Nice straight back, arms by our side. Now we're looking at trying to engage our core, so you're in a nice straight upright position. If your hamstrings are super tight, you can do this with a slight bent knee. We're looking at trying to get your back as upright as you can. If your hamstrings are so tight, you'll then suck up like that, bend your knees so you can get up onto your sit bones and get a nice straight back. Arms by your side, engage your core and lengthen up towards the ceiling. Shoulders relaxed down, and then you're going to raise both arms out to the side. As your arms lift, try not to hunch, so keep the shoulders down, then bring them forwards, and then you're going to reach with a flat back as far as you can, and then you're going to scoop your tummy in and scoop spine back up, lengthening up towards the ceiling, shoulders stay down, but head lengthens, lifts, and start again. So arms come out, forwards, hinge forwards, stretch, and then scoop it back up, lengthening up. Each time you do this, make a mental note of where you got to with your hands, and you're trying to get a little bit further each time. Exhaling as you reach so you get a bit more of a stretch. Last one. And then we can take that a little bit further now into the saw. So you've got either a short lever position or a long lever position with this one. And you're going to lengthen up, rotate as far as you can go, and then reach and chop your little toe off. Belly trying to touch your thigh, back to the centre, rotate as far as you can, so you spiral in the spine, and then reach. Back to the centre, rotate, and reach. Chopping the little toe off as you flex. Make sure you've done a full rotation first before you do the reach. Good. And that's it for our spinal articulation lesson.